Hey, Guns and Gear here. Back with another video. I hope you guys are doing well. Today I'm going to be doing a review slash overview, history, whatever you want to call it, of a gun I got actually quite a long time ago from classicfirearms.com. I got this gun probably over a year. It's been over a year, I think. Not sure exactly, but it's been a while. So, but yeah, this is the Yugoslavian M59/66 SKS. Yes, a very nice one at that as well. These in particular are a police issued one. That was according to Classic Firearms themselves, the batch that they got. These were Serbian police issue rifles, to be precise. So not actual military, interestingly, which kind of explains why they're in, I guess, better shape than normal. So giving you sort of again, the purchase, some of the purchase information. Classic Firearms, I paid, I think, $399.99 about a year, maybe a little more ago for this gun. They were listed in, I believe, very good to excellent condition. And that seems to fit the bill pretty good, I would say. Overall, fairly pleased. This particular one is all matching. It has a little bit of wear. The wood is not great. I mean, there's a little bit of wear. The metal's pretty good. You know, a little bit of wear in some areas. But again, it is all matching as well. I've got a sling on it. I went and bought a actual surplus Yugoslavian sling for like $10 off of ApexParts.com. Threw it on there as well to be official. Not bad. I'll flip it over for you. Bayonet. It did come with the bayonet too. So all the metal parts are matching. I don't think the stock is matching. I don't think so. Yeah, the stock isn't matching, but all the metal parts match. So, not bad. A little bit, it's a little bit rougher on this side. There's some darkness here and whatnot. That's just kind of a look at it. Pretty impressive. I've shot quite a bit of rounds through. I've shot a couple hundred, probably three or 400 rounds through it since I've bought it. No malfunctions at all. Works flawlessly. The SKS is arguably even more reliable than the AK. This actually might be the most reliable gun ever made. The SKS, honestly. So, but that's just kind of a little bit of a brief overview of it. A little bit of the history. Yeah, the Yugoslavian M59/66. This is not the first SKS that Yugoslavia used, actually. This is actually the second one, technically. So the original Yugoslavian SKS was the M59, which was adopted in, you guessed it, 1959. They were a little bit late to the scene. The SKS dates back to World War II, actually. Its design, at least. It was developed during World War II. And actually even saw prototype service at the very tail end of World War II. There is evidence and reports of several thousand Soviet ones actually being used during the Battle of Berlin. Particularly at the very, the very last month or two maybe of World War II, they some of them were used in prototype form, but they entered service officially with the Soviet Union later in the year in '45, and the Soviets would produce them into the '50s, mid-'50s, basically, and then they would stop, and then they outsourced it to a lot of countries. A lot of countries produced these. Yugoslavia was one of them. They would wait a little bit. I mean, they waited quite a while. 1959. The gun was easily already out of date and obsolete By that point. I mean, the AK had been around for over a decade at this point. The G3, the FAL, the M14 were all in service at this point. So the gun was pretty obsolete, but whatever. And in Yugoslavia themselves adopted the AK 5 years later in '64. They adopted the milled AK. So these things were kind of weird. They never really saw combat, really. I mean, they never saw a lot of use. A lot of Yugoslavian SKSs are in really good shape today, because they just never saw any hard use, really. They were kind of just made, and a lot of them were just never actually even used. They would be used as parade rifles, drill rifles, practice rifles, and whatnot. Police, again, like this one, a police rifle. They found a lot of use there. Military application, military use, not so much in Yugoslavia. The original M59, though, which this is not, was literally just a copy. It was a 1-to-1 copy of the Soviet one, save for the different wood material. This was beech wood. This one's beech wood as well. The Soviets used a walnut, essentially. And they're really distinguishable. The Soviet ones are that real dark red that's kind of laminated looking. Real pretty. This is just a standard kind of striped beech wood. Not as good wood. The wood quality is not quite as good, but it's good enough. But that was the original M59. Basically just a Soviet copy, but with different wood and obviously different markings. They would come along a little later in 1966 and add some features to the gun, which is what this one is. The M59/66 PAP, the Pulo Automatska Puska, or a semi-automatic rifle in Serbian. This was also known as the Pushkpa. I think it was the nickname Pushkpa or something like that. I don't know what that means exactly, but that was the nickname I saw when I was researching. So, but yeah, as you can see, they did some changes to the gun, particularly. I mean, really, the only real main difference is at the front end here. All this going on here is a lot different. There are some other differences. One, they swapped out the steel butt pad for a rubber one. This might just be a police. I don't know if all M59/66s have this, but all of the police ones that I've seen do. This is pretty nice because it makes the gun very soft shooting. Recoil is very low. You have all the added weight of all this as well. This is going to be the heaviest SKS variant you're going to see in existence. So it's going to be the softest shooting, and you couple it with the recoil, the rubber recoil pad. Felt recoil is minimal. This is the sweetest and softest shooting SKS you can get, other than like a custom one in a bubbled up Tapco stock or something. Barring those, if we're looking at SKSs in original configuration, this is the best out there for shooting, in my opinion. So, again, different wood, beech wood, different markings, of course. You've got kind of the import mark there. Not a lot of markings on this. SKSs didn't have a lot of markings. The Serbs did not stamp these with any crests of any kind, unlike the Soviets. You've just got the serial number on the side. No other markings or anything else. So, that's it. Not a whole lot else. The actual stock shape's a little different. The gas tube cover is a little different. It looks a little bit different. The actual kind of shape here is a little bit different. That's about it. The actual gas tube design is slightly different. It's a little more bulky and square to compensate for the new sight. That's about it. Bayonet is exactly the same. Bayonets are compatible. I believe they're compatible. So, not a whole lot of changes. Again, all the difference comes up here. So we see the addition of this muzzle brake. Basically, this is not a muzzle brake, just a muzzle brake. This is actually a grenade rifle launcher. Yeah, so this thing is for shooting rifle grenades. It's a 22 millimeter rifle grenade. I meant to shoot a 22 millimeter rifle grenade. So that's what this is. It also functions as a muzzle brake. It is a recoil compensator. Gases get vented out of these holes here, helping to mitigate recoil. And it does a pretty good job. It actually makes the gun, like I said, not only is it heavier, all this added weight, and the rubber recoil pad, and you've got a muzzle brake. So this gun is just superb to shoot. My God. Recoil, I mean, it has almost no recoil. Very minimal. It's almost like shooting an AR. I would say it's maybe a little more violent, but it's very much almost AR-like in terms of recoil. It is incredible how mild. The 7.62 cartridge has never felt more mild to shoot, honestly. So yeah, but so you just stick the rifle grenade on it, boop. And then we've got the addition of, you flip this sight up. So we've got a grenade rifle sight. I'll show you what that looks like. So, I'm trying to get behind it here. So there's roughly your kind of sight picture. So that's the grenade rifle sight, and we've got some increments. Pretty cool. 50, 110, 175, up to 240 meters. Close range. That's pretty cool. And then we have also, again, with the difference in the gas tube design, this is your gas shutoff, basically. So that's off. And then you push it on, you flip it up to turn it on. This shuts the gas off. So this effectively turns the gun into a bolt action rifle. It cuts the gas off. All of the gas then goes out the barrel. And the gun will not cycle. You will have to manually pull the bolt back to cycle the next round. It shuts the gas system off completely. All of that excess gas that would normally go through the tube, drive the piston back, drive the bolt carrier back and everything. All of that gas instead will be going out the barrel behind the rifle grenade, giving the rifle grenade a little more oomph. So that's how you shut it off. And to even actually get the grenade launcher sight up, you have to turn the gas on, the cutoff on to even get the sight up. So then you, like I said, you effectively turn the gun into a manual bolt action rifle, which is kind of interesting. It's kind of cool. And you can actually give your rounds a little bit more velocity that way. Give them a little bit more oomph doing that. You would not use normal rounds, but obviously you would use what were blanks. You'd use a blank cartridge. You would use a specific, not just any ordinary blank, a specific grenade rifle blank. Those things are very hot. They are loaded even hotter than a standard 7.62 by 39. So they can be a little painful. They're a little painful. You would not shoulder it. Do not shoulder it and fire it. That was not the proper doctrine. That was not you would not actually shoulder them. You could actually probably hurt yourself doing that. Those grenade blanks were very stout and were very powerful. You would actually kind of hold it by your side and line the sights up by your side and then shoot it that way. And I've heard stories told to me from a source, my local pawn shop guy that actually knew a guy that was in the Yugoslavian military, where some idiots actually put it up against their hip and shot a rifle grenade propped it up against their hip and shot a grenade that way and actually bruised their hip doing that. So, yeah, don't shoulder it. Grenade rifle blanks are pretty much impossible to find nowadays, but you can get like a rubber dummy grenade and then get standard rifle blanks and shoot them that way. It's not going to be even remotely the same. You might be able to shoot the dummy grenade like 100 yards at most, but it's kind of a nice way to get, you know, to kind of experience it in some way, but it's not even remotely close to the real thing. So, and you can actually shoulder those. So, but that's about what separates it. So you've got, again, this extra gas cutoff system, so the gas tube's a little different. The addition of the muzzle brake, and that's about it. That's really the recoil pad, the different wood, the grenade sight cutoff system, slightly redesigned gas tube, and the muzzle brake. That's those are the differences between the guns. This and a standard Soviet one. So, you know, interesting. Better shooting than an AK. This is a 20. I mean, these are 20-inch barrels versus 16. So they're more accurate. They're heavier. We have all milled. So they're more accurate and softer shooting and less recoiling than an AK. This one in particular for the reasons I already described. This rifle right here is the best way to experience shooting the 7.62 by 39 cartridge, which I've got in a Chinese stripper clip. So that's, I guess, really about it. I'll put you down for a second just to kind of demonstrate some things. I'm gonna unfurl the bayonet here. Show you the bayonet. Yeah. Put the sight down. Actually, I'll demonstrate how you're actually supposed to, if I'm in frame, you're supposed to kind of shoot it like this, sort of. That's how you're supposed to shoot a grenade. So you kind of get up under it like this, and you can kind of aim. You aim with the sights here, basically. That's what I was told. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but I can't imagine with a proper rifle grenade blank, shouldering it, that would hurt the shit out of your shoulder. And like I said, firsthand, I've been told it bruised people's hips before. This is from again, Serbian soldiers' accounts. I don't know, just doing it like this kind of, I don't know, it just seems kind of weird. I would imagine you couldn't be incredibly accurate doing that, but nice bayonet. So, actually, I'll leave it fully extended in its glory. There we go. I don't know if I was in camera. I think I was. But, so that's basically it. I highly recommend these. I don't think Classic has them anymore. Classic had this thing for a while. I mean, to my knowledge, Classic bought the entire market up. They bought literally the entire shipment up. They bought like 10,000 of these things like 2 years ago, and they basically bought the entire market when it came in. So they were basically the only place you could get one. So, but I do believe they're all gone. They had them in stock for like a year and a half, and they've eventually just gotten rid of them. They finally went through all of them after like a year and a half to 2 years. They went through all of them. They were $3.99 when they were first here. They did up the price, I think, up to like $4.29 and then like $4.50 as they got through them. And then I think they dropped them back down to $3.99 at the end when they kind of got towards the bottom of the barrel, where they were getting the last couple hundred that weren't in like amazing shape, that weren't in like very good to excellent shape. They dropped the price back down to $3.99 for those. So, but yeah, that's the M59 66. These were And these entered production in 67 and were produced all the way until 1989. This is probably like a 1980s production gun, I would guess. I think from what I read, most of these police ones were like 80s production. So this is probably an 80s production gun. And then again, the M59 was produced from 59 to 66. These were from 67 to 89. There was also a third version of the gun called the M59/66A1. It is the exact same gun, except it has new sights. That's literally it. They added tritium. You have a tritium post. That's literally it. This one is not one such gun. They added tritium. They added a tritium front sight. That was done in the 80s. He's like the last couple of years of production, they started adding tritium sights or night sights to them, basically. I don't know if it was tritium exactly, but they started adding night sights of some kind to them. That was the A1. So that was like, again, the last couple of maybe mid-80s to the end. They started adding night sights to them. That was the A1. That's the only difference between the A1 and the regular one like this. So, again, $3.99. Don't have them anymore, so if you don't own one, you missed your chance. You're going to have to get them on the secondary market now. And just hope someone in your area or somewhere it starts, bought it and is sold it and wants to get rid of it. I will probably never get rid of this gun. This is arguably, I think, overall the best SKS ever made as far as functionality goes. Probably the best SKS variant ever made, in my opinion. There are other ones that are prettier. The standard Soviet ones are beautiful. And I've got a specific special Chinese variant that's really nice as well. But just as far as functionality and actual use goes, this is easily the best SKS variant ever produced, in my opinion. $3.99, again, what I paid. I'm satisfied. I love it. Shoots great. Soft recoiling, accurate, reliable. Nothing else I could really ask for. And if you own one, you know what you got, I think. I hope. So that's going to be about all. That's about it. One other note, these things it was a little bit oily when I got it. It was a little bit greasy. The bayonet was covered. A lot of the barrel end was particularly just greasy and covered in oil. Looks like, again, they took care of these things for the most part. Like I mentioned in my Yugoslavian rifle video, where they meticulously took care of their Mausers. It looks like the Yugoslavians really took care of their SKSs as well. Same thing applies probably. They really took care of these too. Taking them all out and cleaning them every 5 years. Looks like they did the same thing. And then again, combat history, again, I don't think these things saw really any combat during the Balkan Wars in the 90s. I really don't think they saw that much combat, if any combat at all, really, with military units. Paramilitary and police, definitely. Actual military, I'm not sure. I don't really think so. I don't see any actual combat or wartime images from that period. I've never seen them. Very rarely do you see them. So I don't think very many of these actually saw any hard combat at all. Much like the Mausers, too. So that about wraps it up. I'll flip it back over to the original side. That's going to about do it. Gun's in beautiful shape. Parts are excellent. Barrel's mint. It's a little worn. It's definitely been shot. Thing was definitely shot some in like training or whatnot. But I'm satisfied. Love the gun. 10 out of 10. If you can find one on the secondhand market in a gun shop or something, gun broker, highly recommend you do it. Get on it now. You will not regret. Best SKS, in my opinion. So, that's going to about wrap it up. I am Guns and Gear. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.